the introduction about the chemical equilibrium. So let's start or have a look on what does mean by chemical equilibrium. So equilibrium mainly it is the word that has been arised from the Latin word as equilibrium. It is the Latin word, and this Latin word is meaning as balance of force. Mean is balance of force. The mean of equilibrium. It is the mean of equilibrium, the balance of the force. So this is the state it seems that when there is no change in the system, no change in the system. That state may be known as a state of equilibrium. For example, the simple example we have, if we kept pencil on the finger, then it is said to be rest or in the equilibrium state where it is not gonna to be move. Then it is when kept, it is kept at rest. That state may be known as the equilibrium state. So, simply the equilibrium state it is a balance of force, or we can say that no change in the system. So, this is a simple equilibrium. We can also have another examples, but let's have a look at what does mean by the chemical equilibrium. For example, we have a simple reaction of the reactants in which A plus B is going to be changed into C plus D. When A plus B is going to change into C plus D, this reaction is known as the forward reaction. And when C plus D is again going to recombine and forming A plus B, this reaction is known as the reverse reaction. So, by definition, we have the chemical equilibrium. It is simply the process or the reaction when the rate of changing the A plus B into C plus D, and then the rate of change of C plus D into A plus B is equal to each other, is equal to each other. This state is known as chemical equilibrium. This state is known as chemical equilibrium. So this is a simple definition for the chemical equilibrium when the two processes are undergoing at the same rate, or we can say that rate of change of A plus B is equal to rate of change of C plus D becomes equal to each other. This state is known as the equilibrium state. Equilibrium state. Next on we have many examples that are related to our daily life. But first on we will discuss the types of chemical equilibrium. Basically there are two types of chemical equilibrium. First one type we have the static equilibrium. Static equilibrium. The second type we have dynamic dynamic equilibrium. Okay, mainly static means at rest, or we can say that no change. But on the other hand, dynamic equilibrium, there must be dynamic mean that is moving, or that is going to be change, but some specific rate, specific rate, or in some regular manner. So we have two types of chemical equilibrium, static and dynamic equilibrium. Examples. First one, this is the seesaw. As the two girls are having the seats on the seesaw, you can see that this is the example of static equilibrium. This is the example of static equilibrium. But when we have a look on the other example, as we have a closed container. In the closed container, we have two substances. The water, we have added the glucose. Now, as this is the volatile substance mean you must know that volatile is a substance that can be changes into the vapors, that can be changes into vapor phase, or we can say that that can be changes into gas phase. That substance is known as volatile. When we place the volatile solvent in a closed container, we can see that this solvent started to change from liquid to the gas, from liquid into the gas phase. This process is known as vaporization. This process is known as vaporization. On the other hand, when this gas or molecules of the gas are recondensed and changes into the liquid state, this process is known as condensation. This process is known as condensation. So liquid into gas and gas into liquid, this is a interconvertible process in a closed container, because these volatile or the vapors of the solvent do not get space to escape from the surface. Instead of that, they started to gather over the surface, and in turn they recombine and changes into the liquid phase again. When they recombine and changes into the liquid phase again, this process is known as condensation. So the process of changing of liquid into gas, that is vaporization, and the condensation, when it becomes equal to each other, this process is known as equilibrium, and this is the dynamic equilibrium. This is the dynamic equilibrium. So in dynamic equilibrium, we have see that state of equilibrium in which different phases are readily interconvertible. So we have basically two phases. The number one is the liquid phase, and the second one we have gas phase. So these two phases are interconvertible readily into each other. So this is known as the dynamic equilibrium. I hope you guys understand about this, the static equilibrium and the dynamic equilibrium. And if you have any queries, you can ask me about that in the comment section. For that time, have a good day and Allah Hafiz.